Wikipedia is supposed to be the place where we go for clear, organized information. Articles written and edited by everyday people to explain the world around us. Most pages are harmless, history, science, culture, the usual stuff you'd expect. But scattered across the site are entries that feel different. Mysterious topics, bizarre events, unsettling ideas, and pages that read more like urban legends than factual summaries. Maybe this is why our English teachers growing up told us to never cite information from a Wikipedia article. Today we're diving into the strange Wikipedia article iceberg, starting with the odd curiosities at the top and working our way into the entries that raise real questions. Why do these articles exist? Who created them? And how far down does this iceberg really go? Let's find out. Quickly, in case you don't know, I want to go over what an iceberg chart is, and then after that, we're going to get straight into this video. Basically, an iceberg chart is a way of organizing information with the most well-known information at the top of the iceberg, or the tip, and the least known information, or maybe most dangerous information to know, will be at the bottom of the iceberg. The bottom of the iceberg will have the most obscure, unsettling, or controversial information. This stems from the commonly known idea that we really only see the tip of the iceberg, and in reality, 90% of the iceberg is actually just underwater, which represents the topics that are usually hidden and the most strange. So because of this, in this video, we're covering a large variety of information. We'll be starting with things that probably everybody has heard of, like chess boxing or what an aglet is, and we'll be eventually working our way down and covering information that seems almost dangerous to even know, like uncovered FBI documents. I want to give a quick thanks to the Reddit user BigTank1027. He actually created this iceberg and posted it and gave me permission to cover it on my channel. Now let's get straight into it. First up is Tier 1, or the sky. So, the buttered cat paradox. This is basically referring to the common joke that is a combination of two perceived truths. The first one is that cats will always land on their feet, and the second one is that when you drop buttered toast, it will always land butter side down. So this paradox comes into play when you think about what would happen if you attached a piece of buttered toast on the back of a cat, butter side up of course, and then you drop the cat from a large height. So this was submitted by an artist named John Frazee of Kingston, New York, and it actually won a 1993 Omni magazine competition about paradoxes. And this is basically an example of a thought experiment, and some people propose that it would actually create an anti-gravity effect for the cat and the toast. Aoshima, Japan. This is a Japanese word that means blue island. So this entry could be referring to two different things actually. One of them is Aoshima, Miyazaki, which is an island in the Miyazaki prefecture in Japan. And the other one is referring to a tiny island offshore of the Ehime prefecture in Japan. The one in Miyazaki really isn't that interesting, so I'm going to assume that it's the latter. So this island is actually known as Cat Island. This is because of the very large number of feline residents compared to the very low number of actual human people living there. According to the article, at one point, cats outnumbered people 36-1. So in 1945, this island was actually just a fishing village that had a population of 900 residents. But since sardine fisheries depleted and most of the jobs moved to the cities, the population of the island actually decreased to only 4 people and 80 cats in December of 2024. DoggoLingo. So this is an internet language that is essentially created from meme lexicon. This emerged in the 2010s and is thought to be the dog's own idiom or his own dialect. Basically, it's presented as the canine's thought process. Various social media accounts and image board sites like 4chan, Reddit, and Tumblr have all aided in popularizing DoggoLingo. So there's nothing that weird or strange going on with this one. It's just a weird piece of internet culture. So we're gonna move on. Bliss, the photograph. So this photograph is referring to the default home screen of the Windows XP operating system. And this is a photo that I'm sure all of you guys already know all too well. It's a photo of green rolling hills and a daytime sky with some clouds in the background. This picture was actually taken by a man named Charles O'Rear, and in 1996 he was actually working as a National Geographic photographer on the Napa-Sonoma line. Initially this was just a stock photo, but Bill Gates actually acquired it in 1998 and got full rights to it in 2000. Again, there's nothing really that crazy going on with this one, but if you ever wondered where that iconic photo came from, this Wikipedia article has you covered. The laser Kiwi flag. So this was originally named Fire the Laser, and it was designed in 2015 by Lucy Gray as a proposed flag of New Zealand. This was an entry for the 2015-2016 New Zealand flag referendums. Basically, New Zealand made this sort of contest where people could vote for their favorite alternate New Zealand flag. It was 2 rounds, and the winners of the first round would actually go against the current New Zealand flag. This competition obviously resulted in them keeping their current flag, but the laser kiwi flag is a black flag depicting a New Zealand silver fern and a kiwi shooting a green laser beam from its eye. Sadly, this flag was dropped from the running to be an alternate flag for New Zealand, but it lived on in the public eye because of its comical and amazing design. If you ask me, I think it's awesome and it deserved more of a shot. Calculator spelling. If you had calculators in your school, then you more than likely knew a kid that would do this to get some attention. This entry is referring to the unintended characteristic of the 7-segment display, which is obviously traditionally used by calculators. Basically, you're using the numbers and symbols on a calculator in order to spell something out when read upside down. The original example of this that everybody knows actually dates back to 1970, and it is 5318008. Which, when read upside down on a calculator, it spells boobies. And there are actually some other popular examples of these, like the 0.7734 that spells hello, and the 1979 album art by the Hollies, International Talk Like a Pirate Day. This is a fake holiday that was created in 1995 by John Bauer and Mark Summers of Albany, Oregon. They proposed that on September 19th of every single year, everybody in the world should talk like a pirate. And apparently this holiday is actually adopted by the Pastafarian Church. And if you don't know, that is a religion that actually has a flying spaghetti monster as its deity. Chess boxing. So chess boxing is exactly what it sounds like. It's combining two classic disciplines, chess and boxing. Two people will play alternating rounds of blitz chess and boxing. This is until one player wins by either checkmate or by knocking out the other person. And obviously it can go to decision if the time runs out. Typically these events are actually held in a traditional boxing ring where both the boxing and the chess will take place between the ropes. The sport was actually created by a French comic book artist named Enki Bilal, and later on it was adapted in some performance art stuff. But since the origin of chess boxing, it actually has grown into a real competitive sport on multiple different continents. Also, you might have seen Ludwig, who actually hosted a chess boxing event in 2022. Jazz, the design. This is the legendary design that is known to appear on paper cups. Basically, the design consists of a broad, jagged, crayon-like brushstroke of teal, topped by a finer zigzagged brushstroke of purple. And it was introduced in 1992 and is considered an iconic part of 90s culture. At one point, it actually became a meme and kind of gained a cult-like following, where people were putting this design on like every piece of merchandise you can imagine, like cars, shoes, shirts, everything. Originally, these cups with the jazz design were produced and manufactured by Sweetheart Cup Company, but it was later purchased by the Solo Cup Company in 2004. Macquarium. So this is referring to an aquarium being made from the shell of a Macintosh computer. And the term was actually coined by a computer writer named Andy Ihnatko. And it was basically a joke about the outdated Macintosh 512K. This specific style of aquarium has been built by Ihnatko as well as various other people, but that's pretty much all of this entry. It's nothing that interesting. Hachiko. Hachiko is an Akita dog that was known for his unrelenting dedication to his owner, Kita Saburo Ueno. Hachiko continued to wait for almost 10 years after his owner's death in 1925. Hachiko would meet his owner, who was a professor at Tokyo Imperial University, at the Shibuya bus station almost every single day. This was after his commute home, and this continued until May 21st of 1925, when Ueno actually died of a cerebral aneurysm while at work. From that day on until March 8th of 1935, Hachiko would return to Shibuya Station every single day. And despite the people walking around in the station at the time treating him very poorly, nothing would stop him from waiting for his owner's return. But once he became nationally known for his story of loyalty, people at the station actually did start to treat him better. We all deserve a Hachiko. Peel P50. So this article is referring to the three-wheeled microcar made in 1962 to 1965 by Peel Engineering Company. It was actually listed in the 2010 Guinness Book of World Records as the smallest production car ever made, and it's said to be able to seat one adult and a shopping bag. That's pretty much all for this one. Truly remarkable. Peanut Hole. This is referring to the international zone of the Sea of Okhotsk, which is nicknamed Peanut Hole. This is essentially an area of international waters just off the coast of Russia, and since 2014 it's actually been a legal part of the continental shelf of Russia. It's nicknamed the Peanut Hole because of its shape. It literally looks like a peanut that is 200 miles offshore from the nearest coastline. So it used to be highly disputed over from 1991 to 2014. This is because during that time it was technically too far from any coastline to be claimed by one country. And this meant that any country could actually fish in the peanut hole, which led to people removing as much as 1 million metric tons of pollock from the area every single year. Obviously, Russia saw this as a danger to its fish stock, and it got everybody to stop fishing there until the population of the fish recovered. Nazca Lines. This is a group of over 700 geoglyphs that is made in the soil of the Nazca Desert in southern Peru. A geoglyph is basically just a massive design that's made in the ground. So these lines were created somewhere between 500 BC and 500 AD. Basically by people making depressions in the dirt and removing things like stones and pebbles from the area. And in the 21st century, with the use of drones, we actually found several hundred new figures. But archaeologists believe that there's actually far more ready to be found. Most of these lines are best viewed by the air, but you can actually see a lot of them from the surrounding foothills in the area. These lines are kind of a mystery, lost to time, but a lot of people believe that these are astrologically aligned and were made as markers for the stars. PepsiMan. So this was an endless runner action video game developed and published by KID for the PlayStation. It was released in Japan on March 4th, 1999, and is based on the Japanese superhero mascot for Pepsi, PepsiMan. This game was made on a comically low budget, which led to the decision to make videos in between the stages of PepsiMan of just a man drinking Pepsi. This video game really just became a meme immediately, and it originally did not sell well at all. But eventually, over a decade after its release, it kind of became a cult classic, all due to the absurd premise of the game and PepsiMan, the character itself. Aglet. This is a small sheath usually made of metal or plastic and is attached to each end of a shoelace. That's all. Unst Bus Shelter. This is also known as Bobby's Bus Shelter, and it's a bus shelter and a bus stop near the village of Balta Sound in the Shetland Islands, Scotland. The name Bobby's Bus Shelter is honoring a young boy named Bobby Macaulay. He was a child that used to cycle to the bus shelter every single morning before school. In 1996, the local council actually had plans to remove the bus shelter, but 7-year-old Bobby actually sent them a letter asking them not to do it. He explained to them that the shelter is where he kept his bike while he was at school, and the council actually decided to keep it up. Local volunteers would actually decorate the inside of the bus shelter with things like TVs and sofas, and it still gets redecorated periodically to this day. It was actually World Cup themed in 2010. Unsinkable Sam. This is referring to a ship's cat named Oscar. He helped serve during World War II with both the Kriegsmarine and the Royal Navy. This cat survived the sinking of 3 separate ships, all in 1941. And these ships were the German battleship named Bismarck, the British destroyer HMS Cossack, and the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal. Spite House. This is basically a building that is constructed or modified for the sole purpose to annoy or aggravate neighbors or any person with land stakes. Obviously, long-term occupation is not the goal of these houses, and they usually exhibit strange and impractical features. They're usually placed deliberately to obstruct light, block access to neighboring buildings, or be flagrant symbols of defiance. One example of this is the Old Spite House in Marblehead, Massachusetts. This is a house that was built by Thomas Wood, said to house 2 brothers who occupied different sections and would not speak to each other. They also refused to sell to one another. None Pizza with left beef. This was a pizza delivery experiment done by a man named Stephen Malaro in October of 2007. He wanted to test how accurate the then new Domino's ordering online feature was, and he posted the results of this on his blog that's named The Sneeze. This immediately evolved into an internet meme because of its ridiculous nature. So when he was ordering the pizza, he selected the option none for every single topping except for beef, which he labeled left, leading to this image. Sealand. This is referring to an unrecognized micronation on HM Fort Ruffs, an offshore platform in the North Sea off the coast of Essex. It was built by the British during World War II in international waters at the time, and the decommissioned tower has since been occupied and claimed as a sovereign state by the family and associates of a man named Paddy Roy Bates. So him and his associates have actually been able to repel incursions from vessels from rival pirate radio stations, and apparently even the UK's Royal Navy by using firearms and petrol bombs. But in 1987, the United Kingdom extended its territorial waters to 12 nautical miles. This placed the platform in UK territory. As of August 2024, Sealand actually still has 1 permanent resident. Recursive Islands. This is referring to recursive islands or lakes. which are also known as nested islands or lakes. These are islands or lakes that lie within another island or lake, or another island and lake, another, and apparently small continental landmasses like Madagascar and New Zealand are counted as islands, while larger continental landmasses like Australia are not. And the islands that are found on these countries are often considered recursive islands because they're on an island. There are a ton of these all over the world, and a good example of this is something called Manitoulin Island in Canada. The Shaggs. This is an American rock band formed in Fremont, New Hampshire in 1965. This band was comprised of the Wiggin sisters, named Dorothy, Betty, Helen, and later Rachel joined. Yay! So the Shaggs wrote seemingly simple and bizarre songs using untuned guitars. They also used erratic rhythms, wandering melodies, and rudimentary lyrics. Their debut album in 1969, dubbed The Philosophy of the World, has been described as both among the worst of all time and actually a work of unintentional brilliance. Benson, the fish. Benson was Britain's biggest and best-loved common carp. She rose to popularity after being caught 63 times in a 13-year span. Benson has been referred to as the people's fish and actually got voted as Angler Mail's Britain's favorite carp in 2005. Hector, the cloud. So Hector is a cumulonimbus cloud that forms almost every single afternoon on the Kiwi Islands in the Northern Territory of Australia. This cloud forms from September to March every single year. Hector, who is sometimes dubbed Hector the Convector, is known as the world's most consistently large thunderstorm, and he reaches heights of around 20 kilometers or 66,000 feet. And that is the end of Tier 1 of the Strange Wikipedia article Iceberg. I know that a lot of that information was mostly just funny and weird, but if you watch a lot of iceberg videos, then you know that the deeper we go on this iceberg, the stranger the information is going to get, and it might even get dangerous, who knows. But yeah, I'll get Tier 2 out as soon as possible, and if you like the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments too, but that's basically it.